the part 2 of building a RAG app. Let me just open and just review a little bit what we did on part 1. So we built indexing, splitting an indexing pipeline, embedding them and storing them in the vector store, and then we did retrieval and generation using whatever is retrieved and putting it into the language model for it, the generation of the reply. Now what we are going to do in part 2 is build a chain of conversation, right? So if the user is asking in the first question what is this, and then in the second question they don't have to repeat the question. This they want to ask multiple questions on top of them without actually referring to the topic that they ask on the first one. So in that case, they can use chains to have multi conversation on the same question. And the way to do that, so langchain and langgraph provides very efficient way to implement that, which is, so these are all we have done this before. This is scrapping the data from this blog. I think I have this open. Basically we are doing a RAG on this blog. The whole blog. We are loading this document and we are doing a RAG on this. Now this is web scraper, we are loading it, we are splitting the text with chunk size and chunk overlap here. We've discussed why chunk size and chunk overlap, and we are storing here in the vector store, right? Now the next is we are going to build a graph, and not just any graph, it will be a state graph. Now what state does is it gives a overall framework of how to maintain the chat conversation and state of the application. So message state has like all kinds of system message, tool message, human message, and AI message. All kinds of messages here, it stores here, and we use that to build it. Now what we are going to build is, let me just show the diagram here. This is what we are going to build. We are going to query or respond. If we are not finding enough data, we will just respond from there. We don't have to query and retrieve. This is what the response is for. Query is like if it's on relevant question of the data. We will send it as a tools. Now the tools here is actually a retrieve tool. If you see here, we are building the retrieve node as a tool. So this can be used here as well as in the agent later when we do the agent implementation as well. So yeah, it does a similar search with K2. It fetches the documents. Here it's a serialized version as well as retrieve documents. And here we are building the rest of the modules. Let's just see what are the modules. It's a generate module, and this is query and respond. So this is the code for that. Query and respond, basically LLM with tools. So the retrieve is built as a tool. So this is LLM with tool, and it invokes the message, and this generates the message, right? Now this is step 2. This is the second node which we built, the retrieve node as a tool, and this is the generate part. Now this is a very interesting code. What we are doing here is this message state has all the conversation, right? So we are reversing and picking up from the most recent messages, and we are picking only the tool type messages, because the tool is the retrieve tool which is giving us the reply of the messages. We don't need the human or the AI messages here. So we only are getting the tools ones, and then we have a system prompt here which basically says you are an assistant for question answer tasks. We are combining both the system tool as well as the message tool, which is the conversational messages. We are combining that, builds into a prompt, and this prompt we are feeding to the LLM and getting the response. So this is the generation from the retrieve context. This is the generated response from the end user on the chatbot. Now, yeah, here this is the code to build the graph. Basically, we're adding 3 nodes and a conditional edge here, which is exactly this one, this conditional edge. And then we are adding the tools and the flow. We're adding the flow here. We're adding the edge, graph builder dot compile. This is the diagram of the graph. This is how it is built. Yeah, we are streaming the values here. Now keep in mind this is still in message state. We are not, it's not yet in memory. It's still a session memory, so I will say that later. Now it just says hi, it returns how may I assist you today, then it asks the question what it asked decomposition, and if you see it does a tool call. This is the stream of data, and then this is the retrieve tool that gets called. This is the content, and then it uses this tool call response to do the generation step here. This is the generation step response. Now this is till the rag part, right? Now what we are doing here is a stateful management chart history. Now yeah, so basically we are giving a graph. Now yeah, I have implemented this here. We could have seen here as well. So this is the tool, retrieve tool, and these are all the nodes. This is the graph that's being built. Yeah, this is the graph, and then we are introducing stream values. Now if you see here, how is it different, right? So we first asked a question, what is task decomposition? It gave us a response. What we are doing on top of that is which one of the best of most of the time, I just, is a typo, works the best most of the time. Now if you see here, the question of itself doesn't have much meaning, but combined with this question, it has the context of the previous question, right? So that's what we are doing here. So state messages already has context of the previous question, so it answers that here. So reinforcement learning, upper bound, all of it is answered based on the first question. Now, yeah, now the difference between the state graph memory and memory saver here is that memory is limited to the session. If the session restarts, you won't have this memory. So in order to have memory of the chart of the thread, even if we restart, we save it in a checkpoint as a memory saver, and we put a thread ID to it. This thread ID is what maintains the whole conversation of this conversation, this thread. So we do the same thing again. We ask task decomposition, and this time we are giving config. This config is the thread ID and the memory which holds the memory. So it does the same question and answer with the memory on. So this time the thread has the whole conversation. Even if we restart the session, it will still have the memory and the conversation, the chart. Now, yeah, so this here we are changing a little bit. So instead of, if you see the first implementation, we did the implementation with the LLM, query and respond, tools and generate. Here we are using the same tool, which is the retrieve tool, but we are doing it with an agent, and the agent has the LLM and the retrieve as a tool and the memory, right? So agent is more flexible on decision making. So we do the same thing with the thread, keeping the persistent memory through the config, and we are implementing the response here. So this is the response. So if you see here, we asked two questions: what is the standard method for task decomposition, and once you get the answer, look up for common extension of the method. So that's what we are doing here. This is the first question, and then the AI message, and the tool for the second question, and the AI message at the end of it. This is the response you get for the user. This is the generation step, by the way. So yeah. All right. Next, will any questions? Please put it on the comments. Next, we will cover a SQL tool, SQL task through natural language. So, it will coming up in the next session. Thank you.